Hey, what's up YouTube? Houston here. For those of you just finding my YouTube channel, welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell. And for those of you that's been following me and supporting me, salute. And for my favorite patrons, always, double salute. Now, today's video is for those of you that have a strong TransUnion credit file. Or it may not be as strong, but you still need to get funding and you want to use your TransUnion credit file, okay? So these are lenders that will do a soft pull using your TransUnion to determine if they're going to give you a loan. And I think some of these lenders, what happens is with some of these lenders, they do a soft pull on your TransUnion, but once you actually accept the loan, then they do a hard pull. Nonetheless, TransUnion, most of the time, is usually the highest credit score on many people's credit file. Okay, so that's the reason that I'm focusing on these loans. Now, that being said, we're going to start with Upstart. Now, Upstart, again, is one of those lenders. They do not really focus on the credit score. They focus on more or less your job history, how long you've been on a job, how long you've been at your address, your education level. So they have other factors that they factor in, okay? And they pull TransUnion FICO 9. Now, for those of you that don't know the difference between your FICO 9, FICO 8, and FICO 10, click the link in the description and get your real FICO score, and that way you can understand which is the best one to actually leverage in order to get funding. That being said, here's some data points with Upstart. Their loans go from $1,000 up to $50,000. Now, the good thing about Upstart, one, is that their DTI, like with the banks, their DTI is usually above 55%. Like with the banks or credit unions, most of the time, if your debt to income ratio is above 55%, they'll turn you down. So some of you guys may have great credit scores, but you have too high of a debt to income ratio and the banks turn you away, then these are the lenders you may want to take a look at. Now, the good thing about Upstart, they operate in all 50 states. That's also a good thing because they operate in all 50 states. Now, the minimum gross income annually is about $12,000, okay? You do have to have a valid email, phone, and bank account. But again, like I said, with Upstart, it's not more or less about the credit score. It's more or less about how long you've been on your job, how long you've been at your resident, what's your DTI. And even if you have a DTI, debt to income ratio, above 55%, they're willing to work with you. Or if you're just coming out of a bankruptcy, they're willing to work with you. Upgrade. Now, Upgrade, their minimum credit score is a 560, okay? But they still do a soft pull on your TransUnion. But the average credit score is a 678. Does that mean you have to have a 678? No, but that's just the average. Now, their loans go from $500 up to $50,000. Now, the minimum annual income, it doesn't state, but the average is about $78,000. Does that mean you need to make $78,000? No. One of the things I always tell people, if you're married with a spouse, or if you're retired and you're receiving retirement plus annuities or money from 401k, or you are an individual that's roommating and they're helping pay the expenses, you should also include that in income. Or if you have a side hustle in a regular job, make sure you include that income on these applications so that you can have a higher chance of approval and to be able to get higher limits. All right, so with Upgrade, you have to have, they're requesting that you have to have at least 2 accounts on your credit file, okay? You have to have at least 2 accounts. Now, again, their debt to income ratio is 75%. Better than the banks because, like I said, banks credit union is 55% max and theirs 75%. Now, the unfortunate situation with them is that they don't operate in Colorado, Idaho, New York, Vermont, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming, okay? Now, Avant personal loans. Again, another one of these lenders that will do a soft pull. minimum credit score is a 580. The DTI 70%. That's including the mortgage or rent payments, and the average DTI is about 30%. Okay, but if you're at 70%, you still have a chance with them, and you can borrow from 2,000 up to 35. But you have to have an active checking account, phone number, email. The average credit score is a 644. But again, it's one of those things that you don't have to have a 634. It's just a data point. The average annual income is about $20,000 a year. So breaking down, just say about $1,200, averaging about $1,200 a month. Okay. Now, Prosper. Let's talk about Prosper. It's stated income, pools, TransUnion, soft pool, debt to income ratio. Theirs is 50%, okay? And you can borrow from $2,000 up to $40,000 on their platform. Active checking account, phone number, email. Average credit score is a 640. No bankruptcies filed within the last 12 months. Fewer than 5 credit inquiries within the last 6 months. Okay, let me say that again. So people understand. Within the last 6 months, you have to have less than 5 inquiries on your TransUnion in order to get approved through Prosper. All right, and you have to have at least 3 trade lines on your credit report. Now, you have PAYOFF, stated income, pools, TransUnion, debt to income, 50% as well. Go up to 35,000 active accounts and stuff. No current delinquencies. Two most recent pay stubs, recent bank statements, and a government issued ID. They do not operate in Massachusetts or Nevada. All right. Now, ALLIANT Credit Union personal loans. Here's the thing about them. With ALLIANT, they're using TransUnion Vantage 3. So if you want to know your Vantage 3, you can check it for free at Capital One, or I guess Credit Karma. But I would tell you this. A lot of times, like if you was going to a bank or whatever, and they're offering you a Vantage 3, more likely, like say Capital One, more likely they'll give you a Vantage 3, but they're actually pulling your FICO 8 score. So just be careful in terms of which lenders you're going through. But for sure, ALLIANT, they pull TransUnion Vantage 3, okay? And in reference to Vantage scores are typically higher than a FICO score, okay? Now, it says average credit score is 690. You don't have to have a 690 with the credit unions. That's definitely not one of their things. With the credit unions, it's most of a internal thing. Okay, if you have direct deposits, if you have a savings account with them, a personal checking account with them, you may have a CD with them, you may have a secured card with them. Those are the things that they actually look at and that take a priority over you having a good, strong credit score. Okay, so just keep that in mind, especially with the credit unions. They're want to work with people that have multiple accounts with them. All right. Now, their hard pull lasts between 30 to 45 days. What does that mean? That means that if they do a hard pull, all right, you can apply for multiple products with that hard pull. Okay, so you can apply for a personal loan. You also can apply for some credit cards with that same hard pull within that 30 to 45 day time span. Okay, so that's what that does. And it actually gives you more leverage. That way you can see what other products they're willing to offer you once you approve for your personal loan. Now, how do you join? It's through the Foster Care of Success. I'm actually going to do a more detailed video on ALLIANT, joining ALLIANT, because I think it'll be helpful to the community. Now, their loans go from $1,000 up to $50,000. No origination fees, prepayment penalties. Some of those other lenders, they may charge a origination fee. Okay, so just keep an eye out for that. Now, here's the thing about it. With ALLIANT Credit Union, they're stating that you have to be a member for at least 6 months before you apply for a loan. Is that written in stone? No. But they have other products because, like I said, with that hard inquiry, 30, 45 days, you probably can get qualified for a credit card, okay? So just something that you'll know. Now, another lender, again, if you have a high debt to income ratio and you're needing capital to pay down some debt and stuff that don't focus on the credit scores, credit loans, uh, stated income, um, no need for income verification. Their loans go from 250 up to 40,000. Have an active bank account, 90% approval chance. Okay. Unfortunately, they're not available in New York and Connecticut. If you have bad credit, the maximum they're willing to loan you is 5,000. Now, let me help you understand. A lot of these lenders, when they're talking about doing a soft pull, okay, so most of the time they won't look at the major credit bureaus like Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. They're more likely going to look at your Clarity, which is owned by Experian, your Data X, which is owned by Equifax, and then your Factor Trust, which is owned by TransUnion. Or they may look at your LexisNexis. So they may use alternative credit bureaus to actually see if you qualify. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, again, for those of you that don't know the difference and you want to understand, have a better understanding about your real credit scores and what the banks look at and what the credit unions look at, click the link and grab your FICO score. Okay, and if you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation, click the link in the description and schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.